Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tsukiji Hongwanji Buddhist Temple. Everybody, please join me in Gassho. Namandos, 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 namandos. Thank you so much for coming to this Saturday English service. First, we would like to begin the service by reciting the aspiration, which can be found on page 2 in the blue service book.
Aspiration. Reverently, we come before the shrine of our Amida Buddha, the Holy One, the Perfect One. With gratitude, we have brought our offering of love and devotion to honor the Buddha. We earnestly resolve to strive to understand the holy teaching and to walk every day in the blessed path, so that, like the Buddha, may we attain the peace of nirvana.
Now we'll chant the sutra Jusei. Please turn to page 3 in the same service book. We'll now sing the Gatha Shinshu anthem found on page 5 in the same service book. Congregation, please stand up. Please remain standing for the recitation of the 3 phrases found on page 4 in the same service book.
The 3 treasures. Difficult is it to receive a human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life shall we cross over? Let us, with sincerity and true reverence, take refuge in the 3 treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units in true accord, in harmony with all things. The peerless, profound and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Namo Amida.
Please be seated. This evening, we are so happy to have Reverend Ryoei Nanjo, resident minister of Hojuji Temple in Tokyo, right next to this temple, as our speaker. Nanjo Sensei will talk on the life of Shinran Shonin. I am so glad to introduce Nanjo Sensei to you, and please wait for a while until we get prepared. Thank you so much.
Okay, please join me in Gassho. Let me read a passage of Shinran Shonin's writings first. The gods of the heavens and earth are all to be all to be called good, for together they protect the person of the Nembutsu. Namanda butsu namanda butsu namanda bu namanda namanda bu namanda namanda butsu namanda. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. My English is not perfect, but I would like to kind of talk about Jodo Shinshu teaching and a little bit share with you about my experience. So let me introduce myself first. I'm kind of coughing, but I'm fine, so don't worry about it. So my name is Ryoei Nanjo. I'm Japanese, and I was born and educated in Japanese. And I'm a resident minister at Hojuji Buddhist Temple, which is next to our Tsukiji Hongwanji Buddhist Temple, and studied at the Institute of Buddhist Studies in California in the United States in 2011. And received a PhD in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism and ordained at the Nishi Honganji in Kyoto, Japan. And now I'm one of the staff members of Tsukiji Hongwanji English Language Dharma Service Program Management Team. So, firstly, I'd like to talk about Jodo Shinshu. It's called Shin Buddhism. Jodo Shinshu, also known as Shin Buddhism, which is a school of Pure Land Buddhism that originated in Japan. It was founded by Shinran Shonin, a Buddhist priest who lived in the 13th century. Jodo Shinshu emphasizes the role of Amida Buddha's compassion, and the practice of Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, which is the recitation of Amida Buddha's name as a means to attain enlightenment. So you can see the picture on your left. It's a Amida Buddha statue at my temple. And right side is the Shinran Shonin. So before we start today's main topic, I would like you to recite Nembutsu along with me again. So please put your hands together in Gassho like this. Now please try to repeat after me. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandab, 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 namandab. Please bow. Namandab, namandab. Thank you very much. What were you thinking when you recite Nembutsu? How did it feel? Please take a few moments to reflect upon yourself. So Amida Buddha knows our pain and suffering, our sadness and loneliness more than anyone else. Through listening to the compassionate calling of Amida Buddha and reciting the Nembutsu, I feel the working of Amida's vow that it knows my suffering and that it would never abandon me. By reciting the words of Nembutsu, you can feel the presence of Amida Buddha. It's my voice that you hear, but we, Shin Buddhists, understand that Amida Buddha is always with us. When I hear Namo Amida Butsu through your voice or my own voice, anytime and anywhere in our lives, I feel the working of Amida's primal vow that it will not abandon us. So now let's recite Namo Amida Butsu once again. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandab, 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 namandab. Namandab. Okay. Thank you very much. So I would like to share with you one of the passages of Shinran Shonin's writings. The gods of the heavens and earth are all to be called good, for together they protect the person of the Nembutsu. What does this mean? What is significance in these words? So to understand this, let me talk about Japanese religion. Japanese religion is a complex and diverse collection of beliefs and practices that have developed over thousands of years. The most prominent religions in Japan are Shinto and Buddhism. although there are also smaller communities of Christians and followers of various new religious movements. Shintoism is an indigenous religion that has been practiced in Japan for thousands of years. It focuses on the worship of various deities, or kami, who are believed to inhabit natural phenomena, such as mountains, rivers, and trees. Shinto rituals involve purification, offerings, and prayers to these deities. Buddhism was introduced to Japan from China and Korea in the 6th century and has had a profound influence on Japanese culture and society. There are several sects of Buddhism in Japan, including Zen, Peerland, and Nichiren Buddhism. Zen Buddhism, in particular, has had a significant impact on Japanese art, culture, and philosophy. In addition to Shintoism and Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, and other religions are also practiced in Japan, although they make up a relatively small percentage of the population. Many Japanese people also practice a syncretic blend of Shintoism and Buddhism, known as Shinbutsu Shugo. The Shinbutsu Shugo literally means unification of kami, deities, and Buddhas. At its core, Shinbutsu Shugo represents the coexistence and mutual influence of Shinto and Buddhist traditions in Japan. It is based on the belief that the kami or deities of Shintoism and the Buddhas or enlightened beings of Buddhism are not separate entities, but rather different expressions of the same ultimate reality. In Shinbutsu Shugo, Shinto and Buddhist practices are often intertwined, and Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples may be located together or even share the same physical space. It is not uncommon to see Buddhist statues or images of Buddhas in Shinto shrines or vice versa. So do you know where it is? It's in Wakayama Prefecture, Koyasan Shingoshu. One of the most famous examples of Shinbutsu Shugo is the Shinto Buddhist complex of Mount Koya, Koyasan in Wakayama Prefecture, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The complex includes over 100 temples and is considered one of the most important pilgrimage sites in Japan. This picture is Shinbutsu Shugo, was widely practiced in Japan until the Meiji Restoration in the late 19th century, when the government implemented a policy of separating Shintoism and Buddhism as part of its efforts to modernize the country. While the practice has declined in modern time, it still remains a significant aspect of Japan's religious and cultural heritage. So what is relationship between kami and Buddha? Also, I didn't know how to deal with visiting shrines as a Japanese Buddhist. So let me talk about Buddhism. Buddhism is a major world religion and philosophy that originated in ancient India over 2,500 years ago. It was founded by Siddhartha Gautama, also known as the Buddha, who taught a path to liberation from suffering and the attainment of inner peace and happiness. At the core of Buddhism is the Four Noble Truths, which state that suffering is inherent in human existence. The cause of suffering is craving and attachment. The cessation of suffering is possible. There is a path to the cessation of suffering. This path is known as the Eightfold Path and consists of 8 practices: right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Buddhism also emphasizes the concept of impermanence and the interdependence of all phenomena. It does not involve the worship of a deity or belief in a permanent soul or self. In addition, as you already know, the 3 treasures or 3 jewels are fundamental concepts in Buddhism that represent the core principles of the Buddhist faith. The first treasure is the Buddha, which refers to the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. The second treasure is the Dharma, which refers to the teaching of the Buddha. The Dharma includes the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and other teachings that offer guidance on how to live a meaningful and fulfilling life. The third treasure is the Sangha, which refers to the community of Buddhist practitioners. The Sangha includes monks, nuns, and lay people who support and encourage each other on the path to enlightenment. So you can read the 3 treasures on your service book on page 4. So could you open page 4 on your service book? So let's read it aloud together again. Let's say just the unison part. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units in true accord, in harmony with all things. Thank you for your cooperation. So, in Buddhist tradition, taking refuge in the 3 treasures is a central practice for those seeking to deepen their commitment to the Buddhist path. By taking refuge in the 3 treasures, one acknowledges the Buddha as a guide and role model, the Dharma as a source of wisdom and guidance, and the Sangha as a supportive community of fellow practitioners. Today, Buddhism is practiced by millions of people around the world and has various schools and traditions, including Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Buddhism has several different denominations, each with its own unique beliefs, practices, and traditions. Some of the major denominations include 1. Theravada Buddhism. This is the oldest and most traditional form of Buddhism. It is practiced mainly in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. Theravada Buddhists believe that the path to enlightenment is achieved through personal meditation and self-discipline. 2. Mahayana Buddhism. This form of Buddhism is practiced in China, Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. Mahayana Buddhists believe in the concept of the Bodhisattva, a being who has attained enlightenment but chooses to remain in the world to help others achieve enlightenment as well. 3. Vajrayana Buddhism. This form of Buddhism is practiced mainly in Tibet, Bhutan, and Mongolia. Vajrayana Buddhists believe in the power of sacred rituals and symbols to help them achieve enlightenment. Zen Buddhism. This form of Buddhism is practiced mainly in Japan and emphasizes meditation and direct insight into the nature of reality. And Pure Land Buddhism. This form of Buddhism is practiced mainly in China and Japan and emphasizes devotion to Amida Buddha, who is believed to have created a pure land in which devotees can achieve enlightenment. These are just a few examples of the many different denominations of Buddhism. Each denomination has its own unique teachings, practices, and rituals, but they all share the basic beliefs of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, as I mentioned before. As many of you already know, Buddhism originated in India, and the last place it arrived was Japan. First from Korea and later from China. So this happened in the mid-6th century. It's said that the foundation for Japanese Buddhism was sustained and strengthened by Prince Shotoku Taishi because it spread quickly under his influence. He deeply accepted Buddhist concepts and even utilized them for political ideas. He also built temples such as Hojuji Buddhist Temple, and Shitennoji Buddhist Temple. Hojuji Buddhist Temple was pressed into service as an academic temple for Hosso sect, Hossoshu, one of the 6 Japanese Buddhist sects. Prince Shotoku was a legendary Japanese prince who lived during the 6th and 7th century. He is credited with helping to spread Buddhism in Japan and played a crucial role in the development of the country's culture and government. Prince Shotoku was a devout Buddhist and is said to have established the first Buddhist temples in Japan. He also wrote several important texts on Buddhism, including the 17-article Constitution, which is considered a fundamental document of Japanese political thought. The Prince Buddhism emphasized the importance of compassion and helping others, and he believed that Buddhism could be used to create a just and peaceful society. He also believed in the idea of the Buddha nature, which held that all beings had the potential to become enlightened. Today, Prince Shotoku is revered as a patron saint of Japanese Buddhism, and his legacy continues to inspire Buddhist practitioners and scholars around the world. And according to the Japanese Statistical Yearbook to 2023, conducted by the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications in 2023, around 84.8 million people in Japan are considered to be Buddhists, regardless of whether or not they are considered practicing Buddhists. There are also many different Buddhist sects. It's around 60 main sects that are affiliated with the Japanese Buddhist Federation, and that's still not all of them. Japanese Buddhism has evolved over the centuries, with various sects developing and influencing each other. Each school has its own practices, doctrines, and traditions. Some of the major sects of Buddhism in Japan include Tendai, Shingon, Zen, PLN, Nichiren. So Tendai is a Japanese school of Mahayana Buddhism that was founded in the 9th century by the monk Saicho. It emphasizes the Lotus Sutra and the concept of original enlightenment, which holds that all beings are already enlightened but are unaware of it. Number two, Shingon sect, Shingon denomination. This is the Japanese school of esoteric Buddhism that was founded in the 9th century by the monk Kukai. It emphasizes the use of mantra, mudra, and mandala as a means of achieving enlightenment. 3. Zen. Zen is a Japanese school of Mahayana Buddhism that emphasizes the practice of meditation as a means of achieving enlightenment. It was introduced to Japan in the 12th century by the monk Eisai and later developed into several sub-schools, including Rinzai and Soto Zen. 4. Pialand. This is a Japanese school of Mahayana Buddhism, again, that emphasizes devotion to the Buddha, Amida Buddha, and the recitation of his name, Namo Amida Butsu, as a means of attaining rebirth in his Pialand, a realm of bliss and enlightenment. And Nichiren is a Japanese school of Mahayana Buddhism that was founded in the 13th century by the monk Nichiren. It emphasizes the Lotus Sutra and the recitation of its title, Nammyo Horen Geikyo, as a means of achieving enlightenment and social transformation. So Pialand Buddhism has been an influential and popular form of Buddhism in Japan for over 1,000 years. It was brought to Japan from China during the Nara period and became particularly popular during the Kamakura period. During the Kamakura period, Japan was in a state of social and political upheaval with frequent wars and conflicts. Pialand teachings offered a way for ordinary people to attain rebirth in Amida Buddha's Pialand and escape the suffering of the world. This message resonated with people, and Pialand Buddhism became one of the most popular forms of Buddhism in Japan. Two of the most prominent schools of Pialand Buddhism in Japan are Jodo-shu and Jodo-shinshu. Jodo-shu was founded by the monk Honen in the 12th century and emphasizes the practice of reciting the name of Amida Buddha with faith and devotion as a means of attaining birth in the Pialand. Jodo Shinshu, founded by Honen's disciple Shinran Shonin, places a strong emphasis on faith in Amida Buddha and the idea that rebirth in his Pialand is a gift from the Buddha, rather than something that can be achieved through one's own efforts. Shinran taught that salvation is granted to those who place their trust in Amitabha Buddha and recite the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, with sincerity and devotion. So this week is Ohigan season in Japan. Ohigan is a term used in Japan to refer to the equinox days, which occur twice a year around March, the end of March and the end of September. These days mark the beginning of spring and autumn respectively, and are considered to be a time of balance and harmony in nature. In Japanese Buddhism, Ohigan is also a time of spiritual reflection and renewal. It is believed that during Ohigan, the boundary between the living and the dead becomes thinner, and it is an opportunity to honor and remember one's ancestors and offer prayers for their well-being. Many Buddhist temples in Japan hold special ceremonies and Buddhist services during Ohigan, and people often visit grave sites to clean and decorate them with flowers and incense. It is also a time for people to reflect on the impermanence of life and the importance of cultivating compassion and wisdom in one's daily life. Jodo Shinshu, also known as Shin Buddhism, is a school of Pure Land Buddhism that is particularly influential in Japan. It was founded by Shinran Shonin, a disciple of the minister Honen, in the 13th century. You can see the statue of Amida Buddha on your front. So it's a standing statue. So Amida Buddha is just working now. And Amida Buddha is right now, and just listening to the primal vow is really important for Shinran Shonin. So unlike some other forms of Buddhism, Jodo Shinshu teaches that enlightenment cannot be achieved through one's own efforts, but is instead a working from Amida Buddha. It's kind of gift that is granted to those who place their trust in him. One of the key teachings of Jodo Shinshu is the concept of tariki, or other power, which refers to the idea that enlightenment is achieved through the power of Amida Buddha rather than through one's own efforts. This is in contrast to the concept of jiriki, or self-power, which is emphasized in some other forms of Buddhism. Jodo Shinshu has had a significant impact on Japanese religious culture and has been particularly influential in shaping the practice of Buddhism among ordinary people. Its emphasis on the Nembutsu practice and the idea of other power has made it a popular and accessible form of Buddhism that is open to people from all walks of life. And Jodo Shinshu has since become one of the largest schools of Buddhism in Japan and has spread to other countries, including the United States, Canada, and Brazil. Its teachings have had a significant impact on Japanese culture and continue to be studied and practiced by many people today. So let me share with you one of the Shinran Shonin's episodes. Shinran Denne is an illustrated biography of Shinran Shonin, the founder of Jodo Shinshu, which is a school of Pure Land Buddhism in Japan. The word Denne means biography in Japanese. This work was originally a scroll containing a biography of Shinran by the third head priest of Honganji, Kakunyo Shonin, along with illustrations. At an earlier date, the biographical portion and the illustration were compiled separately, like this. The former is called Godensho, and the illustrations called Goeden were reproduced as hanging scrolls. The Shinran Denne depict key events in Shinran Shonin's life, including his childhood, his studies as a Tendai monk, his encounters with other Buddhist masters, and his eventual realization of the teachings of PLN Buddhism. The text that the Shinran Denne has been an important source of inspiration and guidance for Jodo Shinshu practitioners, and it is often used as a tool for teaching the faith to new generations. It is also a valuable historical document that provides insights into the life and times of Shinran Shonin and the development of Jodo Shinshu as a distinct form of Buddhism in Japan. Nishi Hongwanji in Kyoto made a set of 8 scrolls in order to exhibit them in the main big hall called Goedo during the important services. But the standard type is a set of 4 scrolls like this, 4 scrolls. There is an order in how to read these scrolls from right to left. The first scrolls, the second scrolls, scrolls 3 are advanced, and left side is the 4th scroll. Also, I will look at the scrolls from the bottom to the top. It seems like we look at the life of Shinran Shonin as if we are looking up to him reverently. So today I'd like to share with you an episode in the scroll 4. Scroll 4 called Kuma no Reikoku in Japanese. So, there was a man named Heitaro who lived in Ibaraki Prefecture. He faithfully upheld Shinran Shonin's teaching with singleness of heart. One day, his public duty is Heitaro to make a pilgrimage to Kumano Shrine. I will attain my boss the road to visit Kumano Shrine. I'm a kind of nervous. Shinran Shonin told me that Shin Buddhists listen to Amida Buddha's vow, not pray to God. Isn't visiting Kumano Shrine contrary to the teaching of Shinran? What should I do? In order to seek Shinran Shonin's advice, he went to Kyoto to ask him. It's in Kyoto where Shinran Shonin is staying at. A man sitting on the tatami is Shinran, and the right side is Heitaro. I have to attend the Lord to visit Kumano Shrine. I am a Shin Buddhist, but is it okay to visit the shrine? Shinran Shonin said, it had been more than 2,000 years since historical Shakyamuni Buddha passed away. It is extremely difficult to go to the Pure Land by yourself and become a Buddha. The key point to attain Buddhahood is to just listen to the primal vow of Amida Buddha and live a life together with Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. This is to be revealed in the sutras and the notes of the high priest, and it is not my own opinion. The main body of the god in the Shoujoden of Kumano Shrine is actually Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha was involved with us in various ways and appeared in a different way in the form of these Japanese gods. Therefore, even in the form of God, their true intentions try to enable us to encounter Amida Buddha's vow. So Heitaro, you can visit the shrine with your usual mindset. the main body of God is actually Amida Buddha. So this is the Shinran Shonin's writings. The gods of the heavens and earth, are all to be called good, for together they protect the person of the Nembutsu. So let me let me tell you about my experience of visiting Izumo Taisha Shrine last month with my Dharma friends. Izumo Shrine is a Shinto shrine located in the city of Izumo, Shimane Prefecture, Japan. It is one of the most important and oldest shrines in Japan and is dedicated to the god of marriage and good relationships, Okuninushi no Mikoto, as well as other deities. According to Japanese mythology, the god Okuninushi, who is believed to have created Japan, visited Izumo from his palace in the underworld. During his visit, he fell in love with a beautiful goddess named Princess Yakami, who was the daughter of the god of the sea. Okuninushi eventually married Yakami, and the two became the patron deities of Izumo Shrine. The shrine is famous for its Taisha-zukuri style architecture, which features a distinctive a roof and is characterized by a raised floor and pillars. The main hall of the shrine, known as the Honden, is considered one of the largest and most impressive Shinto shrines in Japan. Izumo Shrine is also known for its annual festival, which takes place in October and is one of the most important festivals in Japan. So the picture on the right side is a maybe festival picture. It's not my picture, but second one and center one is the picture I took last month. During the festival, the gods from all over Japan are said to gather at the shrine to discuss the fates of the people for the upcoming year. The festival attracts visitors from all over the country and features a variety of events, including traditional dances and performances. As I mentioned, the Heitaro and Shinran Shonin's episode, we do not pray to God to make our wishes and vows come true. When you visit shrines, you would clap your hands twice and bow like this. Actually, at Izumo Taisha Shrine, we did clap our hands 4 times and bow because it is a mega shrine. I don't know the reason, but because it is a mega shrine, so we clap your hands 4 times. During Gassho, I thought, oh, this is Amida Buddha. As Shinran Shonin said, Amida Buddha was involved with us in various ways and appeared in a different way in the form of this Japanese god. Izumo Taisha is no exception. Now, God in Izumo Taisha Shrine enabled me to encounter Amida Buddha. I really appreciate it. Just then, a big wind blew in. So it was a strange experience that I felt as if God and Buddha were responding. It was a very kind of accidental event, but it was for me, unforgettable and important experience for me to feel Japanese religion, Shinbutsu Shugo. So I would like to conclude my message. Japanese people practice a syncretic blend of Shintoism and Buddhism known as Shinbutsu Shugo. And I didn't know how to deal with visiting shrines as a Japanese Buddhist. However, visiting a shrine is not a bad thing. According to Shinran Shonin's story, God in Shinto is the incarnation of Amida Buddha, and they protect us. When I visit shrines, I can feel Amida Buddha through bowing to God in shrine. As a Japanese, I would like to spread the culture of Shinto and Buddhism to foreigners, and I would also like to use the ideas that Shinran Shonin and Heitaro have shown me. To conclude, let me read the Shinran Shonin's passage. The gods of the heavens and earth are all to be called good, for together they protect the person of the Nembutsu. Namandab, 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 namandab. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Nanjo Sensei, with such a wonderful Dharma talk. Now, we will sing the Gatha Namo Amida Butsu on page 6 in the blue service book. Congregation, please stand up. Please be seated. Let us recite together the Sincere Creed found on page 2 in the same service book. Followed will be recitation of the benediction.
The Shinshu Creed. We single-heartedly take refuge upon Tathagata Amitabha for the enlightenment in the life to come, abstaining from all sundry practices and teachings and giving up the trust in our powerless self. We believe that the assurance of our rebirth comes at the very moment we are led to entrust upon the Buddha. We call the name Namo Amida Butsu in happiness and thankfulness for the Buddha's great compassion. We also acknowledge gratefully the benign benevolence of our founder and the succeeding masters who have led us to believe in this profound teaching. And we do now endeavor to follow throughout our lives the way laid down for us. Amida Buddha surrounds all men and all forms of life with infinite life and light. Particularly does the Buddha send forth loving thoughts to those in suffering and sorrow, to all those in doubt and ignorance, to all who are striving to attain truth, and to those whose feet are standing close to the great change men call death. Amida Buddha sends forth oceans of wisdom and compassion. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida.
We would like to thank you so much for all of you for attending and watching through YouTube for today's Tsukiji Hongwanji's English Dharma service. For those attending here in person, I want you to take time to scan this QR code. It will be located near the entrance. For those watching online, please click on the link provided in the description field. We would appreciate if you could fill up the survey provided in the link and give us your feedbacks or views so that we can improve our services. The next service will be held on April 29th at 5:30 p.m. in this same room, and the speaker will be Koshin Yamamoto Sensei. In front of here, this is the Yamamoto Sensei, and the topic will be how Master Shinran affected all of our lives. Buddha Dharma, of the people, for the people, by the people. And we look forward to seeing you again. And thank you so much for coming. Let us put our hands together in Gassho. Namandav, 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 namandav. Please feel free to come forward to offering incense. Once again, thank you so much for coming to today's service. And once again, please feel free to join us in the fellowship and refreshments after this service. Thank you so much, and please take care until you get home. Thank you so much.